Okay, Kimmy and Leonie, I thought it would be best if I gave you a Zoom call on how I start a DA and then how I end it. You can certainly tweak it to whatever you want it to be, but this is what I just currently did in Brisbane. And what I do is always start on time. Okay, I don't care if you are personally waiting for a consultant or a guest. You have to honor the people that are there and be there and start on time. So start on time. I always have music pumping ahead of time, lots of energy. And as a presenter, I want you both to be going around the room, introducing yourself, saying welcome, etc., and just gathering. Like if you meet some guests, it's always good to find out, well, what do they do, so that you can just be aware of when you're running the DA, that you can, if somebody is a lot like you, Kimmy or Leonie, you can say, okay, so I know that there's somebody else in this room that has 3 different jobs or something like that. Okay, so what I do is I start it off and I always welcome, and I say something like, oh, it's so great to see all of you here. Thank you so much for making time to come tonight. And I love this, as I say, that how unusual it is to gather in a room full of like-minded people. So how's that? So I'll do a toast to that. So to like-minded people, just to lighten it up. And people love that, okay? I'm going to look at my notes here. All right, so, and when I say like-minded, I mean like valuing lifestyle. It's so important, okay? So then I ask how many guests are in the room, because you want to kind of get a feel for how many guests. And what I do as a presenter is I'll raise my hand. People will follow your lead. So you go, how many guests are in the room? And then you introduce yourself and you tell your story. So Kimmy, if you're starting this off, this is where you're going to say, I'm, Kimmy and Leonie. Bring in Leonie at this, or mention Leonie's name at this point. And the two of us are going to share what we're really excited about. So a little bit about me, and then Kimmy, you tell your story, okay? And so then after I tell my story, I talk something about a ripple effect. And the ripple effect is, so for example, Kimmy, you would say, if you've got guests or consultants in the room, or even if you said Tamlin, okay? Tamlin, who is your upline, because she said yes, it has had a massive ripple effect. And it was like a stone that drops in the water, it ripples effect. And it came down to me, and then, which is you, Kimmy. And then you talk about your consultants and saying yes to that. So that's an example of the ripple effect. And what I also say is the fact is that I'll say, it's so exciting, the growth in New Zealand, because you guys are really starting to power it in New Zealand. So then what I've asked is, how many want a good life? And again, I'll raise a hand. And everybody's hand, a lot of people's hands will go up. And I'll say, it's not really about the money, though the money's great. And it's not necessarily about fancy cars, though fancy cars are fun to drive. But it's really, when I talk about a good life, it's what matters most to you. What matters most to you? That would be considered a good life. And what we do is, for me, and Kimmy, you can say whatever, but I say one of the good things for me to be a good life is empowering others and giving them options. And did you know that most people function on 30% of their capabilities? 30% of their capabilities. So why don't we function on a higher percent? Wouldn't that be fun? And then I say, but you know why they only function on 30%? Is because they will say they don't have enough time, they don't have enough money, they don't have enough knowledge, and their fear of change. Those are the 4 things. So you're already addressing, when people say no to Arbonne, just for I'm jumping out of this, Kimmy, but for you to know, you've already planted the seed of why people say no. And people are going, oh, yeah, I do say, the guests will say in the room, oh, yeah, I do say I don't have time. Ooh, I do want to have a good life. So then you can say, Kimmy, so what Leonie and I are going to do is we're going to ask each other questions. about this great opportunity because we are creating a good life for us. Yes, we want more money. Yes, we want more time freedom, but we are building what values, what matters the most to us. And of course, Kimmy, you've shared what matters most to you. And you might say to Leonie, Leonie, what matters most to you? And then, of course, Leonie will take it over, and then you'll start with your questions, okay? So that's how I started off. I'm going to end this Zoom so you can watch it lots and lots of times, and then I'm going to give you one to how to close it.